Warning: the Not Real Art podcast is intended for creative audiences only. The Not Real Art podcast celebrates creativity and creative culture worldwide. It contains material that is fresh, fun and inspiring and is not suitable for boring old art snobs. Now, let's get started and enjoy the show.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Not Real Art, podcast celebrating creativity and creative culture worldwide. I'm your host, Sourdough, and today I'm thrilled to have my partner in crime back in the studio.
Back in the house.
Artist extraordinaire, the one and only Man One.
I'm back. I'm here.
Back in black, baby. Got that cool black t-shirt on. What is that one of yours?
Of course.
Course.
By the way, I only wear my shirts.
Well, as you should.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, I print and design my own label of stuff.
Mm-hmm. All available at man1.com, man1art.com.
Man1art.com. You know, it's all print on demand. So I have t-shirts and hoodies and sandals and fucking any kind of merch you want. You know,
sex toys.
Yeah. No. But really, the only reason I do all that is so that I can order it, so that I can wear it. Exactly. So I make like one sale a month, and it's me buying my own shit.
Hey, man, you got to support the cause, you know?
Yep, my own cause.
And not KAWS either.
Yeah, he has enough support.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I'm stoked that you're here, brother. And, I wanted to get you in here to talk about some cool work you're doing right now. I think on a certain level, we could call this a special edition episode of the Not Real Art podcast, because I think for the first time, we were going to focus on a subject in a very deliberate way.
Yeah.
Usually we bounce around. Of course, we're probably going to bounce around this one too. But I thought we'd do a special edition podcast today, talking about the awesome work you're doing for Sneakertopia.
That's right.
So this is the Sneakertopia edition.
Right.
Now, for our listeners, I've just got some copy here that I printed off.
All right.
From the website, just to level set here what this is. So Sneakertopia is a new, massive, interactive sneaker experience. Sneakertopia will transport us through a series of immersive, mind-blowing galleries celebrating the art and culture of sneakers. A story of creativity, expression, and innovation. We're going to go into a 15,000 square foot indoor playground packed with rare kicks, oversized sights and sounds, and interactive street art masterpieces. Mm-hmm. It's part art, pop-up art gallery, obviously a part insanely huge sneaker closet. Here we're going to get close to dozens of the most infamous and famous sneakers ever released, while capturing timeless memories that we can share with our friends and family. Yeah, so this sort of falls into, I think, a larger trend, right? That's happening in terms of these immersive pop-up museums and art experiences,
right?
Whether it's the ice cream museum or Meow Wolf or name your pop-up,
right?
But this to me actually sounds like a cool one. I mean, Meow Wolf sounds dope, but ice cream museum, I never seemed to get very excited about. I didn't go to it. Maybe it was amazing, but I'm going to this one. Sneakertopia sounds super dope. Tell me about it.
Yeah, man. One of those things that you're talking about is that, there's always this cheesy factor, right? About a lot of these pop-ups, I think.
Yeah.
And that's always been a turnoff for me with any of these pop-ups that I see happen around the city or whatever. So when I got approached to do this, that was my first oh shit, what are they talking about? You know, let's make sure this is legit, But absolutely, it's going to be a really cool event. And I'll tell you the difference between this one and any other that I've been to or seen or whatever is that they're working with all legitimate artists, It's not some random, studio artist mimicking street art or or some Hollywood guy building the set. It really is authentic graffiti artists, street artists, people who are in the culture, especially in the sneaker culture, who are creating stuff specifically for this event. So it's authentic, it's not your little bullshit, wannabe thing. It's the real deal, and so as soon as I got asked to be part of it, I was like, fuck yeah, I want to be down, So, I'll give you a little bit of the details about what I'm doing, but I was approached by Justin Fredericks, who's like the curator for this.
Shout out Justin.
Yeah, and so he also runs or is part of he does a couple of different things, but when he asked me about being part of this, he's the co-founder of what is Art X company, Art XCO. I don't even know how you say that, but like Art Times Company, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know how you say it. I never asked him, but he also does street art. He also has Street Art House, which is on Instagram. So I've known a little bit about Street Art House, but I guess the way it all came together was, he kind of curates events and things for different clients and brings, muralists and graffiti artists to clients or whatever, and does a lot of client work, I guess. But also he has a background in the tech world, so there's a connection with that.
So just not to interrupt, but if this is his company, Art X
CO.
company, the Art X company operates at the intersection of arts and access. We enable access to the arts via audience development strategies, blah, blah, blah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's enough.
Yeah. And, I'm sure we should have him on here at some point to
for sure
speak more, because he seems to have a really cool connection with a lot of different artists and people in different segments of
young guy, old guy,
young guy, really, really cool, really, actually really good to work with.
Wow. That's nice.
It's nice because, he's been so like just chill about everything. Like nothing's a problem, let's handle it, super like efficient. And, it's just been very nice working with someone who's professional and gets it and is not stressed out. And he has a lot to be stressed out about.
Right.
Because this is like a big undertaking.
Right.
I mean,
calm under pressure.
Calm under pressure kind of dude. I mean, so, I showed up to the venue several months ago when I got invited, and we had a walkthrough, and I was the one freaking out. I'm like looking at this huge space that was under construction, literally under construction. Like there was walls weren't even up yet. Electricity wasn't even running yet. And we're several months out from this huge event.
Where's the warehouse? What location?
Well, it's not a warehouse. It's the location. It's called HHLA, which is on Center Drive, it used to be called the Promenade at Howard Hughes. So if you're familiar with where the Univision headquarters are off the 405, kind of on the other side of the Fox Hills Mall.
Yeah, right.
Kind of on the other side of the freeway.
So what is that? Is that Playa del Rey or something area?
God, what would it be? I think it would be...
it's out by LAX a little bit, right?
Yeah, but is it Culver City maybe still?
Yeah, maybe Culver City.
I don't know exactly what area it is, to be honest, because it's right in that little pocket where it could be Westchester, it could be...
Right. Okay, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. It's LA,
Yeah.
Yeah, but basically, like, it's that mall that's right next to Univision headquarters, and they're like redoing the entire... they're rebranding the whole plaza there. And this is like they're taking over one of the big spaces inside there to do this pop-up, and it's going to run for like how many months? Several months. It's going to run like, well, it opens October 25th. That's the opening. And it's going to run several months. I think I want to say through January or something like that. Mm-hmm. But anyways, it's going to be pretty cool because it's not like some warehouse off the beaten path. It's not like a one-day pop-up. It's, it's a big event and a big space, within a mall, basically. Yeah. And it's going to have a lot of foot traffic. Right. It's going to be open for like parties or special events. So, I'm sure people are going to want to have their parties there and rent it out. for special engagements or whatever, because it's just going to be a cool backdrop, So anyways, I guess, right, I'm still working on some of the artwork right now, but I'll try to give you a little bit of what I'm contributing.
Now, but before we get into this, though, do we know? I mean, you're probably under NDA. You probably can't talk too much about it, but I'm curious to know who's behind this. I mean, this doesn't sound like anything that a specific brand could be behind. If you're really trying to do justice to the history of sneaker culture, this can't be sponsored by Nike.
No,
necessarily, right?
Yeah.
So I'm curious. Do we have any clue who's funding this? Who's behind this?
I think that's a better question for Justin.
Sure. Yeah.
Let him talk about that when he comes on here.
Yeah.
If he's able to come on here, because to be honest, I don't even know.
Yeah. Right.
Right. And I think that's part of it is just trying to keep the artists away from the.
Yeah, and it should be agnostic too, right?
Exactly.
I mean, exactly.
Yeah, but it's not. It's about sneaker culture.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not one brand that we're working with. And to be honest, I don't even know if he's working with any brands because, like I said, it's more about the culture. So, I know he has the founders of this concept, I think, are just two guys who are really into the culture and know people. And
it could be dealers. I mean, like this is like a great concept. If you're a seller or a collector, like this is a great thing.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So, I can't wait to meet the founders because I don't even know who they are yet. I haven't met them. I'm sure they'll be there at opening night. But what I really what I really enjoy about being part of this is that the lineup of all the other artists, and unfortunately I don't have the list of all the artists, and there's a partial list maybe online, but there's
I'll try to find it while you're talking.
I know there's artists like Never is a part of it. I know artists like Freehand Profit. I know who else is going to be part of it. There's there's like a big list somewhere.
Yeah,
that I should have
saw
pulled
the
it
list
before.
Actually in the run up to our
James Hunt is part of it. Adam Fu is part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, there's a lot of artists.
Yeah,
and they're all artists who, in one way or another, create art dealing with sneaker culture.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really exciting to be in inside this giant playground, so to speak, of sneaker culture. And it's going to be shown through the lenses of different artists, but also different parts of the culture, right? So when you think of sneaker culture, there's different points of entry, right? Mm-hmm. So you may be an athlete and you're into sneakers. You may be an art collector and you're into sneakers. Mm-hmm. You may be into music and that's your way in sneaker culture. And so this pop-up kind of explores all that. It explores all these different touch points dealing with sneaker culture, film and movies and music and all that. So it's pretty cool. So anyways, my specific, I'm not going to give you all the details. And
come on, give me all the details.
No.
Don't be that way. Come on.
I'm going to hold out.
Good dick.
But yeah, I mean, I'm doing a few different things. I'm doing some multimedia pieces, meaning they're going to be projections involved, meaning there's going to be some physical murals involved, also some digital murals. And I will say that I'm doing the music section, so I'm doing some of the musicians past and present who have, made some kind of advancement to sneaker culture or have made an impact on sneaker culture. And it's kind of funny because there are people that maybe I'm not a fan of just musically, right? But I have to, take my hat off to what they've done for sneaker culture.
Yeah.
And so I'm approaching it with that kind of point of view.
Sure.
But I'm also being able to portray some of my heroes, like Run DMC and things like that in my work. So it's going to be pretty cool because it's like, I never would have really painted these artists in this fashion for any other project. I've done a lot of sneaker art murals, right? I've done a lot of sneaker art paintings, but they're usually with my own spin, and they're usually not about celebrities, or they're usually not about specific people.
Right.
It's more about the kicks. But this one is going to be like I'm tying in the kicks, with the musicians, and it's fun. It's actually like a fun project. Like I'm enjoying doing it and creating it, but it's also not something that I'm used to doing, in the sense that I'm doing like things outside of what I normally do. Normally I just paint, right? Mm-hmm. Here I'm painting, some murals, but then I'm also doing like a lot of digital work, some motion graphics. I'm working with Syndrome Studio.
Shout out Syndrome.
And it's like hella fun. It's like, especially working with them, I've known Syndrome Studio forever, and we've been friends for such a long time. And
shout out Mars and Micah.
Yeah, I got to, bring them in on this project just because I also wanted to kind of show my art in a different way, and the opportunity arose in this project. And so I'm excited about that. What's also interesting is that we're going to be able to turn a lot of the art that's being featured into merchandise that's going to be available at the pop-up show itself. So you'll be able to buy socks or limited edition prints, just different types of merch that will all be art that's created for the event.
Yeah.
And even some art that was created outside of the event, but has to deal with, sneaker culture or whatever. I have other paintings that I've done and stuff like that. So I'm kind of repurposing some of that work and doing some limited editions and some stickers and some other kinds of merch. So it's going to be like so much fun, so I'm just excited to see what everyone comes up with. I've already seen some of the work that's being put up now. As we get closer to the event, more installations are coming in and more of the art's coming in, and it's some mind-blowing stuff, some very, fresh looking stuff, and just a lot of fun. So I'm going to encourage everyone to come out and check out the show, give me some feedback.
So what was the brief that you got? I mean, when they called you, reached out to you and said, yo, we've got this project and we want you to be a part of it, and you got stoked about it.
Yeah.
What was the brief? What was the ask?
Well, I think it was fairly simple. It was like, we've seen the work you've done on a large scale with, the large sneakers that I do. And they're like, we want that. Right. We want some oversized, sneakers done in your style.
They want dope shit.
And we love your portraits and the way you do the colorful portrait style. Mm-hmm. Can you do something with turning, hip hop legends into these oversized, gigantic, characters, right? And in my style.
Right.
And I was like, I've never done that. I've never, I usually keep the portraits separate from the sneaker stuff.
Yeah.
And never try to like merge those two things together. But I was like, hey, that's great. They love two things that I do and they want me to merge them and create a third thing. So why not? They're not asking me to create someone else's work. They're not interested in their own the style of what they want me to, to turn into or whatever. They genuinely like my work, mm-hmm. and are asking me to explore my own work in a different way.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah.
Sounds like a pretty killer artistic opportunity.
Yeah. And it was I think it's one of those projects where, sometimes you just get a call, an email, and then you speak to the person and then you realize right away that they get it.
Right.
And what they're asking you to do is like exactly what you would be doing anyways, or it's something that you'd want to do but didn't have the time to do it or something. The only thing left is like, okay, how much are you going to pay me?
Yeah, right. Talk budget.
Talk budget. And you know what? We they're very fair with the budget, very fair.
Well, that's rare.
Yeah, it was like, it was one of those things where they're like, well, how much should this cost? And I said, well, I think it should cost X. And then they were like, came back to me like, okay, that sounds cool. We'll get back to you. But, we love where this is going, blah, blah. They got back to me a few days later. They were like, okay, this is what we have. and this is the scope of work. Are you down? I'm like, yes, I'll pick up a check tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, it was that simple. You know, obviously we had a contract and all this other stuff, but it was very like straightforward, no bullshit. Like, you know, I love working with people like Justin who are professionals in what they do and they know what they want and they're not bullshitting. They're not wasting your time.
They respect what you do and they want you to do what you do.
Totally. And you know what? To that point, that's another thing I really like about this project is that when I saw the agreement that I have with them, you know, they're hiring me to produce art for something that they're curating, right? So in essence, they're the middleman, right? Because the founders of this event, right, are hiring them to do this.
Right.
And in the way the contract was worded, it was 100% respecting the artist and 100% taking care of the artist. So there's nothing in there that looks shady. You know, it was all up front. It was like artwork created for the shop. You know, this is the split. Boom, boom, boom. You know, artwork sold at the event. This is the split. Boom, boom. You know, very fair, very upfront and transparent. And that is highly, highly unusual.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't get used to it.
And, you know, it's a breath of fresh air that, like, you know, someone's coming at me this way.
Yeah.
Because I usually get such shady people. And I'm talking about working with big companies.
Yeah.
You know? And sometimes it's not even just shady. Sometimes it's just like, they're not trying to be shady maybe, but they're
ignorant.
They're ignorant about the whole process, or they don't want to be transparent. You know? Right. So they're not really lying to you, but they're not being transparent either.
Yeah.
You know? So I really appreciate working with people like this who are just like, here's the deal. It's black and white. You know, this is what we'll compensate you for. This is what we expect. And let's make this happen. And yeah, it's been great, you know, and it's I guess I've been on this project now a couple months, and you know, we're getting close to being there, but I'm having a lot of fun.
Well, you know, while you were talking, I was just Googling some numbers here, and I mean, it won't be surprising, but it's nice to clarify just how big, right, this market is, like financially.
Oh yeah,
right,
yeah.
So according to this article that ran in the LA Times a while back, the sneaker industry worldwide is a $100 billion industry, right? So like that's, you know, now that's up. I guess that was in 2019.
Okay.
But in 2016 it was 55 billion.
Oh shit.
So it's growing like off the charts, right?
Yeah, right.
But get this, the global reseller market, right? Which really gets into the other kind of aspect of the collecting and what have you. They're saying, well, nobody really knows.
Yeah, of course.
Exactly. But they're estimating at the low end, the reseller market is $1 billion industry. At the high end, a $3 billion industry.
There you go.
I mean, that's a lot of fucking shoes, man.
Yeah, that's a lot of shoes.
That's a lot of tennies.
You know, the other day I was watching this TV show, and I forgot who the guy was. He was some professional athlete, and he's a sneakerhead.
Yeah.
He had, like, he went to this room, you know, the size of this room, and all four walls were stacks of sneakers, right? Stacks. And they were in the original shoe boxes. So you had Adidas and Puma and Nike and everything else, right? And then there was certain shoes he had like multiples of. Like the same fucking shoe.
Yeah.
Like he had 10 pairs of this fucking Jordan.
Right.
All right. The same one. Same color.
Yeah.
Same colorway. Then he had these glass cases in the room, and he had all these, you know, his favorite ones or whatever. And then he opened his closet, and his whole closet was full, right? And then he walked into the room adjacent to that, and there was another room full with a walk-in closet full of all his sneakers that he actually wears. Because the other ones, I don't think he wears them because they're in the boxes. He doesn't even know what the hell's in them. Then he's got this walk-in closet full of sneakers, right? Then he walks out of that closet, and there's a there's a desk, a huge desk, and underneath the desk, shoved underneath the desk, are tons more of sneakers.
Are you sure this wasn't an episode of Hoarders? Because this is
my point is, I understand sneakerheads, I understand collecting, but how much is too much, dude? Come on, like there's got to be a point. Like that's too fucking much, dude.
Well, okay, look. So giving this guy the benefit of the doubt. I mean, let's just imagine he knew that some of these sneaks were limited edition, so they were only going to make X number of pair.
Yeah,
and they were a hot ticket. So you might scoop up, multiple pairs because they're going to go up in value, what have you. Now, what's that little axiom they say in the culture? It's like you buy 3 pairs, you buy one to rock, one to stock, and one to flip or something like something like that. I forget now what it was, but yeah, I mean, so okay, 3. I felt 3. I felt like 3 was a lot,
but here's the thing: this guy, he's a millionaire. Yeah, he's a professional athlete. Better be. He's a professional athlete. Yeah, he's not going to sell these kicks. He's not on the fucking market to sell these, right? He's just hoarding, dude. Well, he's just being a bitch. He's just fucking hoarding them so no one else could get them.
Have you ever seen the opening or see the show Ballers on HBO? So and the opening sequence of Ballers, right? They show that one scene where old boy's in his closet and he's showing you these fucking kicks that are, they're like, $10,000, custom, designed sneakers,
And maybe I'm old school. That's the problem.
Oh, you're old school.
All right. Maybe
old school. I'm just old.
Maybe because when I was growing up, you bought a pair of sneakers.
Yeah.
And you wore them until they fucking had holes in them. And they fucking started, flapping their gums.
Dude, I remember when Aaron Jarvis in 3rd grade rocked these Nikes. They were like $30.
Yeah.
And we thought, holy shit, $30 for a pair of sneakers?
Right.
Like, I don't even remember what kind of sneakers I was wearing at the time.
Yeah.
If it wasn't Nike, but it was some like.
Oh, look what I'm wearing. See what I'm wearing?
Oh, Feelers. Yeah.
Got my Fila gear.
They look fresh. They look brand new.
They're pretty. This is like the 3rd time I've rocked them.
Okay. Yeah, they look fresh.
These were like $30.
Yeah. Right.
These were like Marshalls. Yeah. $30. Yeah. Dude, I love going to Marshalls and Ross.
Yeah.
Because I'm a size 13. Right. So when I go to most, typical shoe places, know, they don't have 13s or that specific style is not available in 13 or whatever. Yeah. But then I go to Ross and Marshalls and dude, there's a whole fucking section on 13s. That's
so interesting.
Because
they all end up there.
And dude, like cool shit like this.
Fuck yeah.
I
mean, retail, those were easily what?
I don't know.
Probably 100.
I don't know. Maybe like $100, maybe like $100, but I get them for $30 because I'm a 13.
Yeah, because you're smart.
And that's where I shop.
Because you're a big man.
Exactly. But anyways, the whole thing was that growing up, and okay, so why I got these Filas? I don't really think these are great looking or whatever, but because when I was in 7th grade and I used to break dance, I fucking wore Fila gear. I had a leather Fila hat to match.
You fucking B-boy.
It was a white Fila hat, leather.
Of course.
And we used to fucking breakdance with that shit. And that's why I got them, because it reminds me of breakdancing.
Did you get that at the swap meet? The Fila leather Fila hat.
Yeah, probably. I probably got it for like $10 at the swap meet.
Yeah.
But that was the shit, right? Like back then, and
fucking fresh.
I had a Fila sweater that I used to wear all the time. So that was my outfit. It was like a white Fila sweater with the white Fila cap with my Fila gear.
All right.
And that's what I used to break dance in. So since I can't break dance anymore, I just wear the sneakers.
Wait, what? You can't break dance anymore? Shit, I want to see that. I want to see you try.
You know who else wants to see me break dance?
Who?
My wife.
Oh, of course. Shout out, Laura.
She gets mad because she says, that all these years of us being together, she's never seen my moves. And I said, and you never will.
By the way, this is a fun concept for like some sort of like party show where you get all these like break dancers from back in the day who haven't danced in like 30 years. And you get them on the stage and ask them to try to do it and see who fucking, breaks their neck.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I used to, b-boying was my way into hip hop.
Okay.
You know, so like in 6th grade, when I started getting into hip hop, it was because of b-boying, and it was, we didn't even call it hip hop back then. We used to call it breakdance music.
Yeah.
You know, oh, there's some breakdance music. And we used to listen to
When did that phrase hip hop culture come to be?
I mean, I don't know.
Part of the parlance.
I don't know. I think it's been around since the beginning.
Right.
But I think maybe New York used it more. You know, I don't even know. I'm not an expert in that shit, but I know that we used to call it breakdancing music, and then I know that we used to call it rap music after that.
Yeah.
You know, and then at some point it just became hip hop. But you know, that was my way into the hip hop world. Like, I wanted to be a b-boy. You know, I used to do my little routines and breakdance and battle and all that shit. And eventually I got to the point where, you know, doing it for a few years, like 2 years maybe, just with friends and stuff. I wasn't in like a major crew or anything like that. I was just doing it like solo and with my friends. And at the 8th grade dance, we'd break dance against each other, you know, shit like that. So, you know, I got to the point where I sucked. I realized I'm never going to be a good b-boy, you know, because I see these guys do crazy head spins and, you know, all these windmills and shit. And
you're like, I quit.
I did. I got to the point where I'm like, you know, I like popping and I like, you know, doing some moves or whatever. But, you know, when you hit the ground, I wasn't that great on the ground. My groundwork was weak, you know.
Your ground game was
weak.
My
ground game, you know. So anyways, it was just fun. And then after that, I was like, yeah, fuck this. I want to be a DJ.
Yeah.
You know, and then I sucked at that. And then eventually, luckily, I found graffiti.
So my son, one of his favorite books to read is it's the ABCs for little G's.
Oh, okay? Wow. Yeah.
And it's all of the alphabet.
Right. I've seen this.
Every letter is a name of a sneaker brand.
Right. Nice.
A, B, C, D. And it's so funny because now we've read it so many times.
Yeah.
He knows all the brands.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Welcome to Capitalism 101.
Oh, yeah. We brainwash them early. So to what extent, I mean, we've talked about, you know, music vis-a-vis and breakdancing vis-a-vis hip hop culture and sneaker culture. Like, what's your sense of how Sneakertopia is going to be bringing music and dance into the exhibit?
Well, I think it's, you know, one of those projects that's going to let you see a slice of the different subcultures from around the world, but obviously, especially from LA, that maybe you never thought were connected, right?
Okay.
So for example, there's a section about like skateboarding and vans and stuff like that, which is a total LA thing, right?
Right, sure.
But it's gone worldwide. And then right next to, you know, the next area where, you know, like for example, where I'm doing, you know, things related to music. And so I think it's just about giving like a little sliver of different subcultures and how they deal with sneaker culture, and letting people know like, hey, this is like a huge movement. It's bigger than sometimes people think, you know, because if you think about, I don't know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever, about sneaker art, there really wasn't a lot of things in that kind of genre. And if you think about it now, I mean, there's artists who only do sneaker work, you know?
Yeah.
There's artists who only do paintings about sneakers. There's artists who only create stuff with sneakers. There's brands that are working directly with artists, right, to create limited editions and things like that. So it's grown to be its own thing, which is, I think, is what's interesting to me about this Sneakertopia concept. It's kind of like when graffiti used to be part of hip hop, right? And it was like, oh, it's one of the elements. But then graffiti got so big that you realize, oh no, graffiti, it's like its own thing, right? And then you realize like there's punk heads, you know, doing graffiti, and there's rockers, and there's hip hoppers, and there's people from all over the world doing graffiti. Then you realize, wow, this is like a really big thing in and of itself. And I think this is what Sneakertopia is trying to convey, is this like, dude, check this out. It's like it's on a big scale. Yeah. It's not just happening in a microcosm. It's not just happening in hip hop. it's happening like on a global scale. Right. And this is just a little slice of it. And the thing about it's going to travel. So the show's going to travel to different cities.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be interesting, right? Because if you think about it, every city, at least every major city, has different styles of kicks that they wear, of color schemes, whatever. So like if you think of New York and LA, right? Like I just mentioned Vans, right? Like people in New York didn't grow up wearing Vans.
Right.
Not that I knew of, right?
Well, let me make it personal, right?
Yeah.
So I grew up outside Chicago.
Right.
And I became familiar with Vans after seeing Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Right, yeah.
You know, and then I was a bit of a BMXer, so getting BMX Action Magazine or whatever, and you'd see Vans but it was all Southern California thing. We couldn't even get them in Chicago. I think finally the summer of like 83, 84,
right.
They popped up in the mall,
right.
And I was like all over it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then for example, New York, I remember, because of hip hop, you'd see all these guys wearing Timbs, right?
Right.
And you didn't wear Timbs in LA,
no.
And it's funny. I wonder what Timbs is like, because, Timberlands aren't sneakers, right? They're like a work boot, whatever, but they're almost in the same kind of genre, I think, as sneakers,
like the footgear thing, yeah.
Like it's like part of the outfit of a hip hopper, or whatever. So I don't know. That's kind of a weird thing.
That gets to the fashionability of it, right? So like the style aspects, because I mean, sneaker culture, this is a broad statement that's probably not, totally true, but it strikes me that sneaker culture is way more about, making a fashion statement than it is being like having a utility on the court. I mean, sure, Jordans have utility on the court,
right?
And Jordans are a part of sneaker culture, no doubt.
Yeah.
But it feels like sneakers that people like to rock as a fashion statement, that's not about utility. It's about
fashion.
It's about style, right?
Well, yeah, it is about style. But then talking about Vans, right? Go back to Vans, if it wasn't for like Steve Caballero, Tony Hawk, or whoever these guys were, rocking them in the videos. I mean, Cab in he actually has a Vans product called the Cab, right? He made the mid top Vans thing popular, right? And it's named after him. So like if people wouldn't have seen that or been into skate culture, they would have never been exposed to that.
Well, but what's interesting about that, again, I'm speaking as kind of an outsider neophyte, but when I think about Vans were developed out of this interesting need, right? So you had skateboard culture and skateboarders that needed a certain kind of shoe. So Vans created a shoe specifically designed for that sport. So the utility was designed and it was inherent, right, to the Vans brand, to the Vans shoe. Then they layer in the funky graphics, whether it's like the checkerboard or whatever. Then you have this fusion of like form and function, or design and function. And I wonder to what extent brands like Adidas or Nike or whatever were inspired by Vans to say, oh no, and it can be fresh and dope too with colorways or graphics. It doesn't just have to be super technical or whatever.
And also, to further add to your point, which I think is right on, the Vans were made out of canvas material. So you would get the blank ones and you would get a Sharpie and fucking add your own shit to it. Right. So now you were customizing your own Vans.
Yeah, right.
Right? This is like in the 70s before any of this shit was happening.
So is what we're saying that Vans was really like the
they were ahead of their time in a lot of aspects.
Yeah.
And I remember in high school, I would wear the black and white checkered high top Vans, right? Actually, especially when I was into breakdancing, like so around eighth grade or so. I remember I had those Vans. I had to have them, the black and white checkered, right?
Yeah.
And the rocker kids in my class also had fucking Vans, It was just interesting because you had these two completely different subcultures, right? Of hip hop and punk or metal or whatever. And we were we were wearing the same shoes. You know, it was like we were wearing the same shoes, and it meant two completely different things to us. You know, like for graffiti, or I mean, not for graffiti, for hip hop and b-boying, you know, it was about the sneaker and the style and the fashion. And then for the rockers, it was about, you know, they could get black shoes and or white, and, you know, it went with their jeans or whatever. And they could write the name of their favorite band on there, or, you know, do their fucking Ozzy Osbourne thing on their
Van Halen logo.
The Van Halen. And so it was just funny that it kind of was cross culture.
Yeah.
But, you know, but obviously that's a precursor to, you know, obviously I think what changed the whole game was the Jordans, right? Like after Jordans, that's when everything changed, I think.
No, for sure.
And which is also within Sneakertopia, there's also an aspect of sports and how sports has changed the game for sneakerheads and all that. And so I mean, I think it's a fun event that's gonna be put on. It's gonna be like, obviously you're gonna be able to take selfies galore inside this place, but you're gonna also be able to see some private shoe collections, sneaker collections. You're gonna be able to see some cool art that you haven't seen before, buy some cool art, walk away with some merch. So I think it's, in general, it's a really nice concept. Yeah. And you know, it's been so far so good. You know, it's been organized very well, and the artists are really bringing, you know, their best to the table. And I'm just excited about it. It's like cool. You know, I never thought I'd, you know, see the day when
so
this
you
would
can't
happen.
Well, you can't talk about Air Jordans, right, without talking about Tinker Hatfield, right? And so, like, do you get a sense of, like, are they going to be celebrating like individual designers who really push the culture forward, like Tinker, or do you get a sense of that? Are they going to, you know, showcase individuals?
I think it's and, you know, I haven't seen the entire exhibit yet, right? Because I haven't seen everything that's going to be up or whatever. But I think it's this whole event is really being pushed through the visuals created by the artists. So it's more about the artists that are creating the space for this to happen. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be some kind of, you know, timeline or some kind of explanation of the culture and the different players. I'm sure that'll be part of it. But I think it's being the focus is really a visual experience, you know, being driven by the artists. And so, you know, like I said, I haven't seen the whole thing yet. Like I'm just focusing on my section right now.
Get your shit done.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my shit done before I start.
I'm asking you about a bunch of other shit. You're like, dude, I got to just do my shit.
So it's gonna be fun. I don't know. It's like
I'm stoked about it, man. I you know, like I said, I heard about the ice cream museum. I rolled my eyes. I did not roll my eyes when I heard about Meow Wolf. I can't wait to get out to check that out. I was supposed to get out there a few months ago and see our boy Max Neutra, who's working for them now.
Oh yeah, that's what I heard.
But anyway, we had to change up. But yeah, and then there's just this trend now of these pop-ups, and some of them feel kind of opportunistic, you know, kind of trite and superficial in some ways. But this, to me, from the day I heard about it, just felt like a super obvious but really smart, important effort.
Yeah, and I think there's been some other museums that have done things with like hip hop culture. Yeah, and then they'll have a section on sneaker culture. Yeah. And I know there's other exhibitions that have come up dealing with sneaker culture and stuff like that. So I know it's not the first, but it is pretty big. I mean, it's a massive space where this is going on. And I think it's just going to be immersive. It's going to be just fun. And, you know, it's one of those things where I could see this, you know, not just traveling as a pop-up. I think it could be part of an exhibition. I think this could be like its own museum exhibition somewhere, you know, because of the quality of artists, because of the scale of it, you know.
Well, it feels like, I mean, I haven't been there yet, but the African American Museum in Washington, D.C., which is supposed to be off the fucking charts incredible.
Yeah, I haven't been there either, but I can't wait to see it.
You know, it feels like, you know, hip hop culture should have its own wing.
Yeah.
Right. In the African American Museum. And in that wing, right, you'd have the 4 pillars of hip hop, right? You'd have to. Yeah. And then sneakers would be woven into that, on some level.
Probably,
right?
yeah.
I mean, there's a great documentary I think it's called Sneakerheads. It's on Netflix, among other places. I saw it, I think, a couple of years ago. Yeah. And it's fucking great. I encourage everybody to watch it. It certainly, for me, was a kind of a window into the frenzy, the fanaticism. Oh yeah, because I mean these are fanatical about this shit, totally. Which gets to the culture part, right? Yeah. And so it was super insightful to a dude like me who can appreciate the culture, but I'm just like not a part of it. I'm too fucking old. I got to pay for my kids' college. Not sneakers, but it was super fascinating, right? Just because the culture and then the secondary markets and, and all that stuff and the money and you go into kids' homes and they're just stacked and stacked and stacked with boxes. So then that's one really great documentary I would recommend. Yeah. And then there's another one called, I think it's called Fresh. And it's all about fashion in hip hop. And how for so many years it was just all about being fresh, and like what being fresh meant in terms of your style and your fashion and your clothes. And sneakers were a huge part of being fresh.
And another thing about sneakers and this whole culture, right, is that again, it's something that started on the streets. Right. It was the kids who couldn't afford like the cool shit. Or the expensive shit.
Right. The big brands. Yeah. Right.
But they made stuff. Yeah. Customized things and made kicks, elevated their own shit to make themselves look fresh. Yep. And so that's the other important part of this. Just like hip hop, it's something that started on the streets and worked its way up, and now it's how many billions of dollars is it worth now?
Right, for sure. Well, and it's crazy. Such a personal example of this. I mean, I was such a dumbass white kid that when hip hop came out, when we all got MTV, right? Yeah. And MTV initially was just all rock bands, basically, Yeah. And then eventually, what was the hip hop show that came out on MTV?
Yo MTV
Raps. Yeah, of course. And that came out, and I thought, well, this is cool, but it's a fad. Right. And of course, how fucking wrong I was, because of course it wasn't a fad, it was a culture. And I was getting a glimpse of this whole world that existed that I had no knowledge of, being a suburban white kid. Right. And then that whole culture was invented because being disenfranchised community. Right. And they're like, fuck it, we'll make our own fun. We'll make our own reality. We'll make our own. We have our own culture. We don't need your shit. Yep. And yep. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, there's so many, one of the things that I'm being part of this event is that I'm doing, one of the murals I'm doing is related to Run DMC, right? And obviously, my Adidas, right? I mean, the fact that someone wrote a song, right? That was epic.
It was epic. It was like, who would have wrote it?
Dude, that was, I think, one of the first brand drops, like in terms of advertising or branded content or whatever we call it now. Like that was the original.
I mean, there was other drops, right? People had said had named Gucci or had named other brands in songs, Fila, whatever, but they named them. Within their lyrics, but this song was about Adidas. Yeah. It was my Adidas, and it was the first time that I ever heard a fucking song about a shoe. Yeah, and as the story goes, right, that they reached, I guess their manager or whatever reached out to the guy from Adidas, and Adidas had no clue that Run DMC was fucking promoting their brand on such a large scale. And they went to their show at the Madison Square Garden, and all of a sudden, fucking, Run DMC asked the crowd to put their Adidas up in the air, and everyone takes off their shoes and they're all wearing, fucking shell toes and stuff. And at that moment, they got the the official Adidas endorsement, right? It's like, wow, have that kind of power.
Power to the people.
And so I remember in the 80s, late 80s, like 88, 89, I had a friend who was a graffiti writer, and he used to just, that was his thing. He would just resell shell toes, Adidas shell toes. And he would go out of state and go to like New Mexico, Arizona, whatever. And he would get shell toes for like $18, $20, right? And he'd come back to LA and he'd flip them for like $100 because you couldn't get them here in LA because they were always sold out, right? And so, even back then people knew what was going on, but it's such a crazy thing that to know that like and then they were wearing the Adidas with no laces, right? And then after the fat laces, and then it's just a trip to see this stuff that I grew up that I grew up in, and not really paying attention. I wasn't paying attention to the point where like, oh shit, this is like a new thing. Oh damn, like this. I should pay attention. No, it was just part of growing up and being part of hip hop and being part of the culture. And
it's like air. You're just breathing.
Yeah, you were just part of it. And then now, 30 years later, you look back like, oh damn, I wish I would have kept that pair of like my first Jordans. Oh, I should just kept them. I didn't know a pair of Jordans was going to be worth money.
I mean, how could you, right?
Right. So like even after they didn't fit me no more, instead of throwing them in the trash, I could have kept them. And imagine right now if you went to my studio and there was my pair of my first pair of black and red Jordans.
Yeah.
Anyways, but it's cool to see that it's kind of gone full circle now, right? And it's like now it's such a huge industry, such a huge thing. And it's across so many platforms.
And that's the thing, right? I mean, you and I got to see this born. Right? Yeah. I mean, kids, today, like they don't have a clue that this was not always the way it was. Like, like how revolutionary Michael Jordan was to this whole conversation, right?
Yeah, that kids are like, oh, I'm going to go stand outside of Supreme for, 20 hours until the new pair drops of whatever they're dropping,
Yeah.
Instead of like, no, I'm going to go search for some fucking kicks, out of state.
Right.
So I can bring them back. And then I'm going to look for some fat laces somewhere else. And then I'm going to do this to them and do that to them. It's a whole different thing. It's a different time.
I'm honestly trying to remember the gym shoes that I wore. Like, before Nike, like when I remember Aaron having those in third grade, like to me, that's when I noticed like a whole different world in terms of gym shoes, what we called gym shoes at the time, right? And I want to say, I was probably wearing, I don't know, maybe what would you have? You had Chuck Taylor Converse, maybe I had that.
Yeah.
Maybe I had some Keds, Keds shit, you know what I mean? Like
Pro Kids.
Yeah, Pro Kids, right? Maybe something from like Sears or J.C. Penney's, like whatever brands they had or something.
Yeah.
But like, like this is, third grade. What is that for me? What, 79 or some shit, 78?
Even like I remember wearing Vans as a kid, but not for style, They were just cheap and affordable.
Right.
I didn't get them for style until I was into hip hop.
Yeah.
And they came out with the black and white ones.
Right.
The checkerboard.
Right.
That was like, oh shit, checkered, that's the shit. So that's when I started wearing Vans at that age, but that was for style. But before that, it was just because they were cheap, The first brand that I think I wore because of style was Reebok. I think when the Reeboks came out.
Interesting. Yeah, right.
When the Reeboks came out, like if I look at them now, I'm like, damn, they're pretty gay. But they were like the high top with the
Not
Velcro.
that there's anything wrong with that.
No, there's nothing wrong with it. It just doesn't work for me anymore. But I remember, they were high top.
Yeah.
And they had the Velcro and and
the fucking Velcro straps.
The
man.
Velcro that was revolutionary.
That was revolutionary.
The fucking Velcro strap. And I remember the first pair of Reeboks I ever got, and they got so dirty. Like, I was always an athlete, right? So I was playing baseball and soccer. And, so when you're at school, you walk in and you're wearing your fucking brand new kicks.
Yep.
Well, by the time the day's over, you've been playing kickball, you've been doing all this fucking shit.
Right.
So I remember my first pair of Reeboks, because they were all white, right? They were all white.
Yeah.
And so I remember like within like 2 weeks, they were just filthy. Like I couldn't even clean them anymore. Like they looked horrible.
Right.
And I was so pissed because I was like, oh, my brand new Reeboks. I've only had them for 2 weeks and they're already all fucked up, right?
Yeah.
They weren't ripped or anything. They were just completely, dirty. So I remember, trying to clean them and using dishwasher soap and nothing was working. So I took them into my dad had a shoe repair guy that he knew, right? And the guy's like, oh, I'll clean those for you. No problem. Just leave them here. I'll come back for them. I'm like, awesome. So I left them my Reeboks, right? I'll never forget picking them up. Dude had gotten white shoe polish and did fucking white shoe polish on the whole fucking shoe. And now they were chalk white. They were fucking white.
Yeah.
They were white, but they were chalk white. Like I couldn't believe it. I looked at them and I go, these look fucking terrible. So like all the creases in there were just like I can't even explain how that looked, but it was just like oh man, that's bad.
So you hit on something, right? Because now there are stores that specialize in cleaning your sneaks.
That's right.
And
products
and products and the whole cottage industry that's just grown up around maintaining your sneakers.
That's right.
Keeping them clean, keeping them fresh.
Yeah, it's a whole thing, and one of the like iconic moments in cinematic history, right, is in Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing, right?
Yeah.
When the guy is standing there and and homeboy steps on his shoe, and it was like, whoa,
like the world stops.
Like what? It's just like it's over, right? Like you stepped on my fucking.
Oh my!
Like that's the funniest scene because it's like, and it's true. These sneakerheads. Oh my god! If they get a fucking crease, so here's the thing, and I didn't know this was a thing.
Yeah.
A few months ago, I found out. It's probably been going on for a long time, but I just found out that there's kids in grammar school and high school who wear their sneakers to school. And in class, they wear slides. So they take off their shoes while they're in school and they wear slides because they don't want to wrinkle or crease their shoes, right? So then when school's out, then they put them back on just to walk to the car or to the bus or whatever.
To look fresh outside the building.
Yeah.
But inside the building.
Oh, yeah. While they're in school.
And this is a thing right now.
Right now, it's going on right now in fucking high schools and in fucking and in elementary schools. Like kids are taking 2 pairs of shoes. They're fucking kicks, right? And they're fucking slides.
So we're not doing so great on our SATs, but we look fresh.
We look fresh being stupid. We used to have back in the day they call it stupid gear, right? Or stupid fresh.
Stupid fresh.
Well, that's stupid. That's literally stupid
true
fresh.
Now, yeah.
And I mean back in the day. Especially when Jordans came out, right? You remember all the stories that were true of kids wearing their fucking Jordans and on the way home getting jumped,
getting jacked,
and fucking getting their shoes taken away,
and some kids fucking getting killed.
Yeah, there's kids who got killed.
Not just
they got stabbed and shot killed for a pair of sneaks. And then so it's crazy. It's a crazy. Evolution of the sneakers, and here's another funny thing. In the 90s, I used to go to Europe a lot, right? I went to Germany and different countries almost every summer, right? And at that time, I think now things have changed a little bit, but at that time, they would wear the sneakers they wore in Europe, right? They might have been Puma, they might have been Adidas, but they were like the fucking wrestling shoe Adidas, right? Or like they definitely were not the high fashion, whatever. And I remember when they would come to LA, these Germans or French or whatever, they'd be like, oh, I'm gonna get some sneakers. And then they would walk into the store and they would see, dude, these Adidas are $40. I'm gonna get 5 pairs. And I'm like, yeah, but those aren't the fresh Adidas, you know?
Yeah, right.
Get the fresh ones. They're like $90. No, but these are 40. You know? Or look at these. They're on sale for $25. These Nikes. And we're like, yeah, but those are not the fresh ones. And they were like, but they're Adidas. They're Nike.
No.
And that's all they cared about. They didn't care about the look. They just cared because in Europe
brand.
it was so expensive.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Just like jeans, you know, if you had Levi's jeans when you were in fucking Europe, you're like, oh, you're the shit because you're wearing Levi's. And they didn't care what the fit was like.
Oh,
you know?
my God. That reminds me. So when I was living in Chicago, one of my roommates had lived in Norway for a long time. So he had a bunch of Norwegian friends, right?
Yeah.
So when we were living together in Chicago, his Norwegian friends would come through and stay with us, right?
Right.
And it was hilarious because they were all outfitted with American brands, just like that. But it was crazy because it wasn't just about the Levi's, which they had, right? But it was specific shit like the Zippo lighter.
Okay.
They had the Levi's. They had the Zippo lighter, which they flick, you know, like they had like a whole routine, like pulling out a gun, you know, like flipping the lid and lighting it up.
Right.
They smoked Marlboro cigarettes, or you know, they had, and they would have a Harley, always like a Harley Davidson kind of wallet with the chain or something. You know?
Right.
It was all about American brands, and of course because Yeah, and they had never been to America.
No.
They had never ridden a Harley.
No,
you know.
Yeah,
but it was just all about that fresh shit. You know?
It's just the way American that however Tom Cruise wore it. Yeah, that's how they were going to wear it. So
just to have the brand, it wasn't even necessarily the specific item.
No, it wasn't.
Right.
It wasn't. You know, it wasn't even about the fresh look. I was like, those are some whack ass Nikes. Yeah, but they're Nike.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, no, bro, those aren't cool, dude.
Oh my God.
But yeah, it's fun.
Well, all right. So let's, for our listeners here, let's break it down a little bit.
Yep.
Because tickets are on sale now, I believe, at Sneakertopia.com.
That's right.
And we want to make sure everybody gets their tickets. The first opening night, that first week and month is going to be nuts. And of course, it's going to be running for a long time. So people should come once, twice, 3 times, as many times as possible, because there's going to be so much cool shit happening there.
Yeah.
They're going to want to take it all in. As I understand it, they're going to be doing private events and group events.
Yep.
You can host parties there. There's going to be all kinds of cool premium experiences. It looks like you can get a season pass holder ticket. You could be a supporting member. You can be a sustaining patron member. All kinds of great ways of supporting this culture, this great experience event at Sneakertopia. So,
and you could find them at Go Sneakertopia.
Go Sneakertopia.
That's their handle on IG, and all the different social media.
Great. And of course, you said the grand opening is October 25th.
Yeah.
And then, from there, I don't know, business hours and all kinds of shit going on after that. Yeah. So go to the website, Sneakertopia.com. And I guess with that, we'll sign out.
Sounds good, bro. Good seeing you.
Yeah, good seeing you. Peace out.
Peace.
Hey there. Thanks for tuning in. Please be sure to like this episode and share it with your friends on social. And if you haven't already done so, please be sure to press subscribe and follow us on IG at Not Real Art Official. We appreciate the support. Sourdough out.